Sometimes, man, in the night, I flip open my computer and I start looking at cards. I can't help myself. I know I should go to sleep. I know I gotta wake up early, but the cards, they call me. Like a siren called to Odysseus, or whatever happened, man. I failed that Greek literature class, brother. Anyways, there's a card creating quite a stir in the collective community, and we're gonna talk about it right now, dude. But don't forget to slap those like and subscribe buttons, alright? Get in the Discord, get in the Patreon if you want to. Get in your own life, dude. We have all kinds of good stuff in there. We got nandrolone, we got testosterone, we got pepperone. We got it all. Shifting Woodland is a land and enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a forest. Has tap add green. Now this is where it gets interesting. Delirium 2 green green. Shifting Woodland becomes a copy of target permanent card in your graveyard until end of turn. Activate only if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. This seems pretty good, man, but there are some caveats here. Now let's talk about the lens through which we should examine this. The last green land that had an additional upside that everybody was excited about was Boseiju Who Endures, which is a $30 card today. Now Boseiju is a legendary land, tap add green, channel 1 to green, discard it, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. That player may search their library for a land card with a basic land type, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. This ability costs 1 less to cast, 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. So this has some similarities. It's kind of a free roll land with a spell attached. Boseiju, I mean, this is a bonkers card. It's a removal spell that hits some pretty broad targets for basically a green mana. It's nuts, man. It's also a very beautiful card. Comes in untapped 100% of the time too. Now Shifting Woodland comes in tapped unless you control a forest. Now you're in green, so you should probably control a forest, dude. This doesn't specify basic forest. So if you've optimized your mana base with triomes and shocklands, you degenerate animal, then this is going to come in untapped most of the time. And we also have all these cards that go and fetch forests. That last ability though is pretty attractive, just like old Nicky G, brother, but that's a different video. Check out my OnlyFans for that one. I'm not going to link it in the description. I don't want to upset anybody, but this also becomes a copy of target permanent. That's any permanent. Somebody murks your pivotal enchantment, boom, buddy. Now if it's a creature you want to copy, it doesn't have to tap to activate this ability, so it can bang in during combat or activate its own ability, which is nice. It doesn't get any ETB effects. You can do some weird stuff with this, like with one of my favorite dudes, Lazav the Multifarious. Make Shifting Woodland into some sweet creatures. Heck yeah, dude, you can turn it into Phage the Untouchable. But remember, if you turn it into Phage, it loses this ability until the end of turn, so you can't turn it into an unblockable creature and then turn it into Phage or something like that after blockers are declared. But you can only activate it if you got that Delirium, dude. 4 card types. So if you're in a Mimeoplasm deck, you're probably milling creatures, you're probably milling lands, but you gotta get an instant or sorcery in there, maybe a planeswalker, maybe an enchantment, maybe an artifact, maybe a damn battle, dude. Which in most decks is not a huge deal if you're self-milling. You need a couple different card types to make that happen. This is an absolute slam in the Master Transcendent, where we have a pretty broad variety of card types. Now I don't think this card has as broad an appeal as Boseiju. It's solidly in the self-mill territory, you gotta stick to those types of decks. I think most of the time this is just a forest, brother. But how does it compare to Agadeem's Awakening? X black 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 sorcery, return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creature cards that each have a different mana value X or less. Now on the backside, of course, you have this land. You got to pay 3 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield taps for black. It's interesting. Agadeem's Awakening only has one or the other. You can have a land or you can have a real pricey reanimation spell. A reanimation spell is not bad though. This damn card is 18 bucks, and guess what? I don't think it's worth 18 bucks, dude. This may be controversial, but I don't really like the MDFC cards, and you know why? Because I don't want to take the cards out of the sleeve and turn it over, dude. That's insane. Who's got time for this? No, but the real reason I don't like it is that neither side is usually as good as their single-sided counterparts. I do understand the utility though, it's a very versatile card. Now Shifting Woodland can kind of have that cake and eat the cake and still have the cake after it's been eaten like some Schrodinger's cake. But it's a card, brother. How does it compare to Emeria, the Sky Ruin? This thing enters the battlefield tapped, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 7 or more planes, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, tap add white. This card is pretty dope in heavy white decks. It seems like a real black card, you know, but white and green get better reanimation lands. I don't know why. Emeria used to be a little better. I got it in Karametra where you're doing lots of land fetching. It's great in that deck. Most games these days don't go to turn 8 or 9. The power level is too high nowadays, brother. Now the color combo this would be most useful in would be Dimir, but I'm biased, man. Dimir is my jam. Green gets all the good stuff. We get Port of Carfell. This enters the battlefield, tap, has tap, add blue. 3 blue, black, black, tap, sacrifice it, mill 4 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Now I'm not going to say I've never run this card, but it's pretty rough, man. It's good in budget decks. 6 mana plus the sacrifice. The sacrifice is just too great, brother. But it's on a land, you know, that can just hang out and be a reanimator until endgame. This card, it's like, you know, something. Oh, but guess what, dude? They really pushed the envelope a little bit, making that effect cost 1 less mana with Tomb Fortress. So this also enters the battlefield, tap, has tap, add black, has 2 black, 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 tap, exile it, mill 4 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. This one has that sorcery restriction. It exiles itself instead of sacrificing itself. This is the Necrons, buddy. They're up to no good on some distant planet. Alright, so through this lens, the lens of ultimate knowledge of all the lands that I just described, we ask ourselves, is Shifting Woodland as good as it seems? Yeah, brother, you know what? I think it is, which is somewhere between Emeria and Port of Carfell. It's good, has a bunch of interesting actions you can take with it. It's a bit of a wild card. The ability is fair. 4 mana is not bad for that ability. I would stick it in a combo deck for sure, something where you're surgically implanting combo pieces into the graveyard with Entomb and things like that. It's a shoe-in for the Master Transcendent, as I've built it anyways. I would also slot it in any deck that's running Necrotic Ooze combos, or a combo deck with enchantments or artifact-based combos if your key piece gets destroyed or milled. Now the tricky thing about Necrotic Ooze combos is that you can tap this to make it a copy of Necrotic Ooze. It can tap and make the infinite mana, which you want to do. It can be a bit of a surprise. You can also make a surprise blocker, something to blunt an Alpha Strike. I am all for trickiness and creativity. It can give you an out in tough games in the late game. Chances are by the end game, you're going to have a nice suite of creatures or permanents to make this into. Hopefully you'll have Delirium as well. Yeah, brother, I think it has pretty broad utility, the old Shifting Woodland, but that's just me, dude, especially in self-milled decks. The other decks, you know, if you're running Forest, it's like, what the heck, what are you losing by sticking this in there? Probably not too much. This set is bringing some interesting cards for Commander players. There's a little power creep here for sure. We're seeing some new versions of older cards with a mana shaved off for a little extra power. Lots of little effects that are a little cheaper than they used to be. Anyways, man, I'm glad you guys are enjoying the channel. Enjoy life. Get outside, brother. Go grow a couple tomato plants, grow some basil, make yourself some spaghetti sauce in 6 months. You know, drink some coffee. Nikki G, Better Commander, signing off.